Hi everybody, welcome once again to a Low on Health year-end review. This particular review is going to be my games of the year. Not my besides gaming, because this is the gaming year-end breakdown. Which of course this is what Low on Health has always been about. Me basically keeping track of all the video games I've played because I play a lot. This particular year I ended up playing over 103 games. And for me, the criteria for me actually playing a game is more or less playing it, maybe beating it, or playing it to the point where I understand how much fun I'm going to get out of the game, where I can see where the game is going, or just see how much fun the game's going to be. So there are a bunch of games that I will play and just give up on because they're just not fun. But I still consider myself that I play them, I have an experience playing the games, and I definitely have more knowledge of interacting with the game than most people who don't even know the name of it, or have even played it, or know what system is on. So this is why I kind of just cull these all together and break them on down. And this year was kind of a big year because the first half of the year I actually was just snowballing through games. I went to my friend Darren's place, and he basically buys games up when they're like under $5, so he has a huge library of video games. And I started to go through a lot of his back catalog, just playing the crap things. I ended up doing like 3 trips out there, picking up games I wanted to play, then games I kind of wanted to play, and then games I was like, whatever, I'll achievement farm them, and maybe something will be good. So I did that, and that was a good chunk of my games this year, because I was finally actually able to go over the 100,000 achievement points, which if you look at it this year, I am currently at 136,000 achievement points. So so over the course of the year, I roughly got over 40,000 achievement points by just playing multiple games. And as most people know, I can easily dedicate 4 hours after work and then 12 hours on the weekends, pre-Rose time. Now I do have my girlfriend Rose, and I don't game as much, but I still get a lot of gaming done, because a lot of these games nowadays can be beat relatively quickly. Like Halo was like one night, and a lot of these games are banking on their multiplayer, but their single player is basically being kind of cut back. I mean, Resident Evil 6 that you see right there, I've actually been doing a lot of recently, and that actually has over 20 hours of gameplay, which is actually pretty good, considering like Black Ops had 8 hours and Dishonored was like 8 hours. A lot of these games I'm just plowing through, and they're just not really that engaging. And another way that, besides Darren, of course, I get my games is from Gamefly. I do the 2 out at a time, and actually this holiday season I bumped it up to 3, so I get more games out this holiday season. And before I actually get to my yearly breakdown, I want to go over this as Gamefly and kind of maybe look towards 2013, kind of jumble us up a little bit. Usually I would do the breakdown and then this. But I'm going to talk about games I'm looking forward towards in 2013, in which case you can see right there I have Resident Evil 6. But looking ahead, I mean, I got Devil May Cry, Dead Space 3, some kind of hopefully Grand Theft Auto-ish type of open world game, and then a lot of just like sequels and nothing you really heard of, nothing really new. Everything's kind of fused, got of course redone. A lot of 3s in there. The South Park game is actually I'm looking forward to a lot in 2013. Hopefully that will be really good. A lot of us are looking forward to it. And you also have Grand Theft Auto 5 and Animal Crossing whenever that happens to come to the DS over here. But I mean, right now looking at 2013, that's not a big plethora of games looking forward to. And hopefully maybe we'll get some announcements, and maybe I'll have to add some things into here, but it's not looking too good. I mean, there's not even a holiday season or something to look forward to. And that's, of course, because we're between console cycles, so there's not that many. A lot of developers are holding back, and maybe we'll get announcements for the new systems next year, and maybe that's why the holiday season next year will be a lot of like the new titles for the new systems. Who knows, but like I'm saying, right now, next year is not looking that great. But let me go ahead and jump right into my games of the year, in which case I tally up all the games, I give them a rating, and then I take kind of my top, like anything rated 8 or above or 7 above, I kind of take them together and I kind of rate them on what game I like and enjoyed the most, and that's how I get my top 10. So right now, my number 1 game of the year is going to, of course, be Katawa Shoujo, which was one of the first games I played this year, and of course is that dating sim, which reminded me of just how much heartwarming and emotional games can be. It was just really engaging. I really enjoyed it, and that's actually a lot of these games. The plot have just been great. I mean, Katawa Shoujo basically it's a point and click dating sim, but it's still solid. It doesn't break. It has great music and good visuals, a great storytelling, and multiple arcs and whatnot. So I really enjoyed it. The next game, of course, is going to be Spec Ops: The Line, which is my number 2, which when you take in effect, I played over 100 games. These are pretty highly up there. Spec Ops: The Line, it was kind of tough deciding on this one, but it just has a super, super great, depressing narrative. And you think it's just your normal run-and-gun game, but it is very, very good, and I really recommend to anybody that's played any first-person shooter or third-person shooter in the past decade, give this a play, because it is very good. Binary Domain, which was done by the people, the studio that did the Yakuza game series, which I enjoy, but not as much as I used to. Really, once again, a really good game and really cool, really, really good plot and really good just world telling. And once again, another kind of split narrative where your decisions and whatnot actually do affect how gameplay moments, who turns on you, who doesn't turn on you, and whatnot. It was very good. FarCry 3, because I wanted an open-ended game. This was kind of it came out recently. I really enjoyed FarCry 3. I enjoyed FarCry 2, but never really got to beating it because it just wasn't that engaging. FarCry 3 actually has a really good narrative and actually drives the experience along, and I really enjoy just being able to explore that world, and it was fun. The great game is just so super immersive and awesome. I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it to a lot of people. Darkness 2, I enjoyed the Darkness 1 a lot, and I enjoyed Darkness 2. It just has really good storytelling. Once again, a lot of these things I rate highly on storytelling. Good gameplay, and once again, it's kind of a dark game, and I just love the combat is very visceral and fun. Borderlands 2, we enjoyed Borderlands. Borderlands 2 was a good, solid game. It definitely had more character than the first one. I didn't really enjoy the classes that much as I did in the first one, but they definitely went out of their way to basically beef up the story. And with Anthony Birch doing the writing for the majority of it, it really shows. Rayman Origins is kind of a surprise because I've never been a fan of the Rayman series at all, and I'm not a fan of platforming at all. But when a game is slick, has good presentation, great visuals, and good solid gameplay and design, I can't fault it. And that's what Rayman Origins had. It was just a good, solid, complete package. Then you have Game of Thrones, which a lot of people hated the Game of Thrones game that came out on the consoles. I enjoyed it because it basically gave me a look at the Game of Thrones world. In which case, I've read all the books, I've watched all the series, the 2 seasons of the series. You know, I'm up on the universe, and I just really enjoyed being able to actually interact with that universe and play as the different characters and have kind of the split narrative, which has decision making and whatnot. And it was just fun. The combat was actually kind of like almost old school D&D, and I really like it. A lot of people have faulted it for being clunky and whatnot, and it is rough. But just because like Alpha Protocol was rough, I still enjoyed it. And just Game of Thrones, I really think any Game of Thrones fan or Song of Fire and Ice will actually enjoy it. Then Minecraft. I finally haven't reviewed Minecraft because I was waiting for the 360 version to come out, and it's come out. We have all the updates. We have the creative mode where you can do everything, and I just wanted to throw it in there because you cannot not have Minecraft in your top 10 if you've played it. And it's a great game. Really, it's worth downloading on any system you have, and pretty much anything you're watching this on can play it. And then Battleship, which is kind of going to be my curveball in there. Battleship, of course, is basically the game based on the movie based on the game. In which case, it has a really cool mechanic where you control the ships, and depending on how you interact with the ships and how they fight the other ships, they get control points, and that actually gives you perks and whatnot when you're doing the first-person shooter segment. And it is so seamless, and it's basically what they mentioned at E3, and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. And they actually put it in practice, and it's really good and intuitive and actually surprisingly really well done. Now, of course, the story isn't that great, and the overall, shooting mechanic is, whatever, and the visuals are meh. But still, it shows that the design is so well done that I just couldn't overlook it. I just wanted to put it in my top 10 because it's definitely worth putting in my top 10. And once again, these are just my views on these games. Everybody else has different ways they weigh games differently. I mean, it's mainly for me presentation, gameplay, design, and story. Now the rest of the games here, but we're gonna quickly go down our games. A lot of them I played on the PC the year before, but I finally got around them on the 360 once again because of Darren's back catalog. Yes. So you have, of course, Portal 2, which actually I did co-op with my girlfriend. Actually, that was our kind of first little date. Actually, you got Bulletstorm, Dead Space. SSX was actually a game that I bought this year because it was on the GameFly sale, and I bought it for like $5 so I really enjoyed it. Azure's Wrath was, a bunch of these games. I'm trying to just go scroll down here and just kind of pick apart. Mass Effect 3, which came out this year, we're all kind of, maybe disappointed not. Black Ops 2 was okay, Prototype, man. I mean, you can see a lot of these games, I was just like, man, nothing really kind of stood out. It was kind of a lackluster game. A year for games in general. I was surprised by how much I actually liked Final Fantasy 13 too, despite how much nobody really liked 13. I thought they actually did a really good job with the design on 13 too, making it more accessible that you could save anywhere and kind of zone in and zone out of dungeons whenever you wanted to. What else we got here? We got Kingdoms of Amalur, blah, blah. Dishonored, which could have been cool, wasn't that great. Halo 4, for some reason I thought was it's a short game. 6 hours for a story isn't that great. I just really thought it was, man, I mean, the visuals and everything are great, but it just didn't really engage me as much. Yakuza Dead Souls was horrible, as much as I love the Yakuza studio in the series. Lollipop Chainsaw was fun. Assassin's Creed 3, we have a lot of people really disappointed with Assassin's Creed 3. It was very just, main character was not engaging, the overall story was, man, I mean, for me, the series peaked at Brotherhood. But it was interesting to see how much it would fall. I don't know, and a lot of people don't like it, especially if you mention the endgame chase scene. Most people will flip out. Never Dead, which Never Dead was a game that had a really cool premise, but just horrible implementation. And once again, just little games here. Kingdom Hearts 3 for the 3D, for the 3DS, I just could not play through for whatever reason. I just couldn't really get engaged in the story. It was just complete garbage, which unfortunately Kingdom Hearts has become that story-wise. It's just so contrived. Other than that, you kind of just see a bunch of games you've never heard of, you might have heard of, and I just kind of play a little bit. Dragon's Dogma had a lot of promise. It was very cool. It's just too grindy for me, too JRPG grindy for me. Family Guy Back to the Multiverse was actually pretty fun, and as you can just see, a lot of just gobbledygook games here. Once again, these are just games that I played, and once again, I maybe didn't play them all the way through completion or spend millions of hours on them, but I played them enough to kind of get the gist of them. Blades of Time, follow-up to X-Blades, was actually pretty fun. Really good kind of gameplay and design. Very strong, except a lot of it's broken, but the overall premise is really cool. Doom 3 was just horrible. Rise of the Guardians was actually pretty good. And then ironically, I guess that there is the worst game of the year, it's got to be Inversion, which was just horrible. Like, you can control the gravity, but you get stuck behind barriers that you could float over, because you can float enemy. It didn't make any sense. Once like the 15th time, my friend had to like jump me over or something, and I realized I'm grab lifting enemies. Why couldn't grab lift myself? It just loses all fun. I mean, it has one really cool plot twist, but meh. But overall, those are my games of the year. I know this is a long video because this goes over everything, but you can pause and look at my games I played and whatnot. But my top 10 for the year, of course, is going to be Katawa Shoujo, Spec Ops The Line, Binary Domain, Far Cry 3, Darkness 2, Borderlands 2, Rayman Origins, Game of Thrones, Minecraft, and Battleship. So, as always, I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and I will catch you next time.